Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our CEO forum. We're just going to give it a minute just to let everyone come into the room, which are coming in now.
Mike, I'm going to start with an Eminem song.
Oh, there you go. So maybe an
one?
MC Hammer song.
So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our CEO forum series, one of my favorite programs we have throughout the year. Today, we're featuring Central Business Systems, Mike Chambers, Sean Infante, who I've known for years. We're very excited. And Scott Maskin, obviously, is the moderator, which we're very excited. So before we begin, I want to introduce the president and CEO of the HIA-LI, Terry Alisi Maselli. Terry?
Thanks, Anthony. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I hope everybody is staying healthy and Long Island strong. It's been amazing what we've seen all of you do through this pandemic. Absolutely amazing. And it does not surprise me because, again, we always knew that we're Long Island strong. So we will get through this together. As we look at this CEO forum, the first of 2021, our CEO forums began in 2011. And it was directly a result of focus groups that we ran. For many of you, our members who said, we really want to get to know different industries and CEOs, and not only what they're thinking about now and how they put their companies together, but what they'll be doing in the future and what their vision is for the future in that particular industry. So as Anthony said, we're delighted this morning to have Mike Chambers and Sean Infante from Central Business Systems. They are a recipient of the 2020 Business Achievement Award. So many of you know that process well. And one of the things that we do as judges is we go in ourselves and several CEOs and we interview the companies. Obviously in 2020, it was via Zoom. But one of the things that came out of it, certainly in interviewing Central Business Systems, is that overall, all the CEOs said, wow, there is such a sense of family and family philosophy in this organization. And that's, I know, one of the things that we'll hear about today. So I'm going to turn it right over to Scott Maskin. I just want to remind everybody that you have the capability of putting any questions and answers that you want in your bottom right hand. There's a Q&A button right there. Just pop them right in there and we'll field them. And I'm going to turn it over to Scott. Scott?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the CEO event. So I want to jump right in. For Sean, I have a question. Listen, I'm enamored by the whole story of Central Business Systems. I did so much searching to find out. You can find out which company is the largest, has the most employees, revenue, but to try and find out the longevity of a company on Long Island is almost impossible. So if you could briefly talk about, I think it's a huge differentiator for Central. So if you could please briefly talk about Tobias and the beginnings.
Yeah. Okay. So Central Business Systems was obviously originally Central Typewriter Corporation. Was started in 1948 by my grandfather Tobias Infante and his partner Robert Zollenhofer. It's a very interesting story. It's a true Long Island story as we get through it. But my grandfather, as like many people, many Long Islanders now, originated in Brooklyn. Okay, when he graduated high school, a family member got him into the office products industry, which is what Central does. We were originally a typewriter company back then. He went to work at the age of 18 for a company in Manhattan called New York Adding Machine Company. And he was an apprentice typewriter mechanic back then. He did that for several years, got married, gave birth to my father in 1942. And pretty much right after that, while he was still, again, an apprentice typewriter technician, he got drafted into World War II. Interesting story is that when he got drafted, he went through basic training. And after basic training, he was selected to actually go and train on the Norden bomb site to eventually be a bombardier on a B-17. He went off to school to learn that. And while he was in school, apparently what had happened is that his entire class had a weekend leave. And I guess when they were supposed to come back from their weekend leave, a couple of guys went AWOL, didn't come back on time. And their CO at the time was certainly not happy with that. So he decided as a punishment that he would make them go on an overnight hike or march, I guess you would call it. And, so they left and went up on their hike. And that particular night, it ended up snowing, which was unexpected. And long story short, my grandfather came down with pneumonia, ended up in the Army hospital there, and wasn't actually able to graduate with his class. While he was in the hospital, they actually pulled his personnel records, and as it turned out, they needed typewriter mechanics, to repair typewriters, for the Army Air Corps. Okay, so they they actually sent him to Hickam Field, Hawaii, and he used to laugh about it because he always said that he had such a horrible assignment in the service on the beach in Hawaii. But in any case, he was part of the quartermaster division. And he worked in probably the largest typewriter shop, repairing typewriters for the whole South Pacific arena. Did that for obviously his full term. And when the war ended, he actually came back to Long Island. My grandmother at the time had moved from Brooklyn out to Long Island. Okay. And he ended up living on Long Island and commuting back and forth into the city. He had gotten his old job back at New York Adding Machine Company. And, was commuting back and forth, which you can imagine back in 1948, the commute was probably even a bit tougher than it is today. And he met his future partner, Bob Zollenhofer there, and both of them had decided, Bob was originally from Baldwin, Long Island. So they both had decided, hey, let's give this thing a go and try to start our own business. At the time, after World War II, Long Island was pretty much exploding. So it was a good timing for them. And in 1948, they opened up their first small store in Seaford, Long Island. They were only there for a few months and they were doing rather well. So they eventually built the building right on Grand Avenue in Baldwin, and moved in there, and started their business. And, what had happened again is they were certainly able to take advantage of the expansion on Long Island. They, did business with companies like Grumman and Republic back in the day. And, it was a good time for them. They were able to begin and start to expand the business right away. And, the rest, I guess, as you say, is history. My dad joined the company in 1962. He bought out my grandfather's partner, Bob Zollenhofer, in 1976. I bought my grandfather out in 1988, became partners with my dad. And then in 2001, Mike Chambers and I, who actually were friends back in high school, and we actually went to college together as well. Turned out that Mike had ended up in the same industry. We had kept in touch over the years and had always talked about the potential of doing something. And again, in 2001, my dad was ready to retire, and we were looking to expand the business. We had reinvented the business obviously several times since 1948. So in my mind, this was just a great time to reinvent it. Central had been known again as more of a service operation. We had tremendous customer loyalty. We still do business with several customers that were with us in 1940s and 50s. So. But again, we were more of a service-based company, and Michael was a great sales rep working for a national company, and the synergy just seemed great. Merging up with our heritage and our service base and his sales acumen again seemed like a great synergy, and so Mike eventually bought my father out, and we've continued to try and grow the company, and we've been pretty successful with it, and. Like I said, the rest is history.
That's amazing. I mean, so two follow-ups on that. Do you know, is there a listing of companies on Long Island and their longevity?
I've to be fair, I've never looked to see like you did, but I don't know of any. No, I do know that in our industry there were several typewriter companies that all started in that time frame. I mean, 20s, 30s, 40s, but they're all have gone by the wayside at this point. some of them may still be around under different ownership and stuff like that. But, with, original family proprietorship, no, I don't think so. I mean, at least not in our industry anyway, so.
Challenge you because I got you one of these. And I want to see if you can go back to like the 1400s when the printing press was actually, invented, and see if there's any Infante blood, because it was in Europe. So
Yeah, I don't think so.
So Mike, listen, it seems that, your niche, there are a lot of companies that sell products. There are a lot of companies that do services. Okay. And I don't know enough about it, but I can't imagine that a lot of companies succeed at doing both. And also, I would imagine if they can, they're so big that they lose that homegrown touch that is, as Sean said, you're doing business with people since the 50s. You talk about that?
Yeah, it was definitely a strategic decision for us that we think differentiates us even further by combining the copier business and also, the IT business, if you will. If you look at it, there are a ton of copier vendors out there that don't necessarily have the savvy or the capability to launch or provide IT services in addition to what's their core business, and it's been their core business for many, many years. And on the flip side, if you look at some of our competitors that were, on the IT side, there are a lot of IT companies, of course, that, their core business is IT. They don't have the familiarity with office equipment, big office equipment, production printers, copiers, fleets of copiers, the model associated with that. So yeah, it was definitely a strategic decision for us to pivot and make that move and combine those offerings, if you will. But it was a natural transition for us. We have been very, very credible in the service space with our copier customers for many, many, many years. And because of that credibility, they were flat out asking us at times, hey, we like your service with copiers. Can you fix our network? Can you service our network? Can you service our computers? So the transition was definitely a very, very natural transition for us as well. But we pivoted because we knew customers, they didn't really, we're seeing it more and more, not looking for multiple vendors. They're not looking for a copier vendor and an IT vendor and a vendor that does their software and a vendor that does their document management systems and so on and so forth. So we see from our vantage point, customers looking more and more to consolidate vendors. We feel that customers are looking more for the expertise, the efficiencies and the economies that come with a single source provider. And we are really, really, filling in that need.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see even more so today. Look how the pandemic has accelerated the digital transformation in the hybrid office. Businesses, they're adapting, but they're kind of stuck in the middle of more the office world and the remote world. And at the same time, they're stuck in the paper world, copiers, printers, and paper communication, and the digital world. So, for them, or I think really for us, what differentiates us is we understand all those worlds very, very well. And I think because of that and our ability to pivot, we're helping customers more and more now and in the future transform to a new workplace environment.
Right.
So yeah, it was most certainly a strategic decision on our part, and it's paying dividends, Scott.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I got to believe it's working. I know one of the things that I enjoyed with the service that you provide is, even though we do our IT in-house for the most part, what I had asked you guys to do was come in and we got into like this cyber war. Like, you broke into my firewall and you did this and you checked for vulnerabilities, which thankfully I didn't have a lot, but you did expose hey, maybe you should be looking at this, maybe you should look at that. I didn't, that's a service that you guys provide that I thought is pretty cool.
Well, it's certainly top of mind today. If you look at security, no matter what product you're talking about, whether it be a piece of equipment, or whether it be a piece of software or a service, security is top of mind. So, penetration tests and security alike is really, it's top of mind today, and it will be for a very, very long time.
Yeah. So listen, I want to dive into both your heads real quick. Last 10 months have been tough on everybody in business. There's no question about that. New information, new this. Every time you thought you had your feet planted, something changed and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, there are days that, I wanted to curl up in a ball. Now, leaders of companies don't have that option to just curl up.
No.
So how do you guys cope internally? What's, when what drives you to get back in that wheelhouse, even though you got knocked down? What got you back into the wheelhouse to steer the ship,
Well, if I can jump on that real quick. I think for me, again, I go back to Central as Central is very much run like a family. Okay, we consider our customers family. We absolutely consider our employees family. And the truth is, since 1948, we've been through a lot. I mean, world wars and downturns in economies, oil embargoes, crises, things like that. We've been through a lot of this stuff. And the one thing that I've learned throughout the last 10 months, and Scott, I completely agree with you. There's definitely mornings where you get up and you say, wow, what's coming at us now? But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. The truth is, anybody that's a business owner, and I know everybody out there can relate to this, is that, you know what? The only thing that's guaranteed is that we're going to get things thrown at us. If you think this is it and it's going to stop today, here and now, it's not. This is one thing. And granted, I'm not going to lie, this has been a tough one. We've never been through shutdowns before. And, people working remotely the way they have, and more importantly, the fact that they had to go remote so quickly. And, a lot of people were caught off guard by that. But the truth of the matter is that, it's just another hurdle, and there's going to be more to come. It is what it is. So, over the years, what I've learned and some of the longevity with Central is that, guess what? We've been through it before. We'll get through this. And you know what? We have to do it together, everybody working together. Again, our customers and our employees are like family to us, and we have to do it for them, and we have to do it for each other. So, I think that's just an important part of this. We have to get through it together.
Cool.
I think when the pandemic hit, there was a certain amount of wait and see period for many companies. We were considered essential because we work with a lot of other essential companies. So to us, it's our duty, and really the only way we do things anyway is really to step up. It was a time for us to really step up. First and foremost, as Sean was alluding to, we had to make sure that our people were safe and our customers were safe. That was number one priority. But we had everyone stepping up. As I mentioned, we're working with a lot of other essential companies, but stepping up even for other just companies that were eventually opening up that needed to stay relevant, that they needed to function, and they needed our services. So, for us, it was kind of easy to forge forward and move forward. And, leadership plays a pretty big part, in any environment, and particularly during the pandemic. We were very fortunate because we do have a culture that kind of fosters leadership from every level. And, we were very, very proud, particularly during the pandemic, because we got leadership from everywhere. Our technicians, they were front line, going out and servicing calls in healthcare facilities and other, frontline companies and agencies. Our IT network engineers and our service staff, our warehouse and our shipping and our truckers, even our operations and our salespeople. Communication was flowing. It was flowing to our employees, flowing to our customers, and it was flowing timely. And really, if you think about it, what we were providing for our customers was top of mind. As Sean mentioned, they were scrambling already to work remotely. So, it was very relevant what we do to set them up remotely. It was very relevant that they needed better document management and better workflow systems. They needed better collaboration tools. They needed special assistance programs because they were looking to obviously reduce unnecessary expenses. So, it was very relevant what we were doing. So, steering clear and forging forward, through the storm, Scott, was a natural thing for us to do. And again, customers are still relying on us as we kind of get challenged through this pandemic. And I think they'll rely on us as we kind of even merge to the office of the future, if you will, in the hybrid office when we get finally, God willing, past the pandemic.
Yes, so cool. So, hey, Sean, I know one of the ways that Sean copes, somebody wrote that, you're an avid chef and you have this amazing talent for being able to put something like with ingredients together. So they wrote, ask Sean, green chili peppers, ketchup, and marshmallows. We'll come back to that. Okay.
Oh, boy, that's a challenge.
That's great.
Ketchup and marshmallows. So
Man, I gotta write that down.
keep your thinking cap on for that.
Yeah.
So listen, Mike, that it's a great segue. I want to jump around a little bit. So, I know sales is in your blood and you're a master schmoozer and you have you have likability. Okay. So, to me, managed IT services, businesses, shit, it's not like the sexiest thing in the world, right? We all got to have it. But how do you make that an exciting we know we got to have it. Okay. But to businesses, how do you make it an exciting conversation? How do you take technology neophytes like myself, then we're the decision makers, and keep us current? Touch on that a little bit.
Well, first off, as I think, I've been in sales my entire career. So, I took the time to understand throughout my career what really were some of the top performers in sales doing so well that was leading to success, regardless of whatever they were selling. And what I found out really is that the difference between top performers and your average and mediocre performers was never really a great, massive difference. It was always just a small difference, maybe a tiny little difference on the margin. The top performers were doing certain things a certain way, maybe a tiny little bit better each day, that was adding up to an enormous quantum difference, which is namely commission. So, I guess maybe a good example of that would be that of like a horse race. If you look at a horse race, if a horse wins a race by a nose, that horse wins 10 times the prize money of the horse that came in second by a nose. But I'd ask you, is that horse 10 times better? Is the horse 50% better, or even 5% better? The truth of the matter is the horse is only a nose better, but the difference in prize money is enormous. So now look at sales. When you win business in sales, you win 100% of the commission and 100% of the business. If you come in second, you win nothing.
Zero.
There's no commission for second place in sales.
First loser. You're the first loser.
So, you look at, getting back to your question, so what are those little nuances and those subtleties that top sales performers have? And again, getting back into your question, they're more customer centric. They're not talking tech if they're in our industry. Certainly if they're any good, they're not really talking tech. They're talking the customer's language. They're talking what excites the customer. And what are the things that excite customers, whether it be during normal times or even in a pandemic? What excites customers is not tech talk. It's being more productive. What excites them is being more efficient. What excites them is being more cost effective, perhaps being more secure. So, again, not talking tech, again, not exciting for many, but talking and speaking more to the customer and speaking their language. Yeah. And, I think that's the key, Scott. And the other thing is really, especially, how we approach, things at Central from a sales perspective is, understanding the difference between making a sale and making a customer.
Right.
There could be a subtle difference, but it's a rather big difference. And making a sale can be very transactional. It brings really more short-term gains. But when you're making a customer, it's both short-term and long-term because you're making relationship.
Yeah.
And it's that subtle approach, of, not, hey guys, how many people are we going to sell today? It's more, at the risk of sounding corny, it's more, hey guys, how many people are we going to help today?
Right.
And when you're helping, you're speaking their language. And it's a great question because for many, IT is not the most exciting thing that's going to, may perhaps, get you stoked. But when you're speaking the customer's language and you're more customer centric, I think that's the key. And that's why we've had such success.
I'll tell you what is exciting is when your shit gets hacked and you get shut down and that's exciting times for business.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Exciting in a different way, maybe.
A very different way.
That's exciting. But I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's really about building relationships. And, for me, it's about being simple. Okay. Here's my problem. Are you the solution? I love the fact that you're that one-stop shop. I try to be that resource in my business also. And again, even in my business, we don't really talk that much. All my guys are trained not to really talk about panels and this and that. They're talking about the pain point is your electric bill. And the solution is building the relationship with my company and knowing that you can pick up a phone and get Sean and get Mike. Okay. Not somebody at Canon or Rico or something like that. That's a huge difference. Sean, did you get through the ingredients yet?
Yeah, I did. I got it. You want to wait or you want to throw it out there right now?
Well, do it real quick. What are you doing? Green chili peppers, ketchup, and marshmallows.
That's an easy one, Scott. We're gonna grab that whole thing. We're gonna mix it up. We're gonna use the marshmallows for a nice sugar base and the ketchup. Make a nice barbecue sauce. We're gonna throw it out on some ribs and throw it in the smoker. Let me tell you something. It'd be great.
Damn! There you go. So, Sean, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So, listen, again, family started. You're in the business. So do you have a biggest regret or a biggest success in business, missed opportunity, a product, an employee? I mean, give me the best of times, worst of times for you personally.
Well, personally, I if we look at a success, and I'm going to use an example of something that we did probably about, I guess, 10 to 15 years ago. It revolved around us actually bringing in a consultant. We had a consultant group come in to basically take a look at our service operation. Okay. At the time, again, we're doing this a long time, and I'm not going to lie. There's times when you feel like you know everything about the industry. We've been in it for so long. Who better than us to know what we have to do? And long story short, we brought in a consultant group to take a look at our entire service profile. Okay. And what these guys did is they came in and they gave us some great ideas. And what they did is put together some benchmarks for us. And these benchmarks were benchmarks that were created for the entire industry across the whole country with, hundreds of dealerships doing the same thing that we do. Okay. And what we found is that by utilizing these benchmarks, we were able to actually streamline our service program and become more profitable and actually, do better service for our customers and be able to measure on a daily, weekly, monthly basis exactly where we needed to be. And the truth is as much as you think you know about your industry, sometimes getting that outside look is tremendous. Okay. And sometimes you have to bring outside opinions in. And in this particular case, it was tremendous for us. And, one of the things that it did is that it allowed us to, by having these benchmarks, that when we did have issues, okay, instead of spending hours and days and sometimes weeks trying to figure out what the problem was, by utilizing the benchmarks, we kind of knew where the problems were already. And we could now spend the time just trying to attack what it was we needed to fix to get things right. So So again, even though as an owner, as somebody that's been in the industry for a long time, you may feel like you know a lot and you know everything. Sometimes you really need to get an outside look at things, and it was definitely something that we decided to do that really helped us tremendously. So that was a pretty good success for us. As far as failures on a personal level, thank God we haven't had a tremendous amount of failures. I mean, in business, there's always, lost opportunities and things like that. The occasional lost customer, and, those always hurt, and what we've always tried to do is take a look at that and see, hey, what could we have done better? We're always trying to challenge ourselves to say, hey, what could we have done differently? What could we have done better? But like I said, we thank God haven't had tremendous customer loss over the years, and we've been pretty lucky with that. But again, on a more personal note, as a business owner, one of the things, and I think most business owners can relate to this, is that we tend to have our fingers in a lot of different areas of the business all at one time, a lot of plates in the air. And what happens is I think we end up, myself personally, becoming more of a jack of all trades. Okay. And, it's a good thing sometimes when you're trying to, again, keep your eye on everything that's going on in your business. But, as a little bit of a regret, sometimes you wish you could have focused more in and really mastered one or two specific areas. So, if there's any regret, it would be something like that. But overall, I think we've been very, very lucky. And, like I said, it's been a pretty good ride so far. So we're pretty happy.
I love that. I love that you use that word luck. Okay, because I'm a firm believer of how fortunate we are. There were many paths to take. The path to entrepreneurship is not the easiest path. It's certainly not the most secure path, but it's very fulfilling, even with all the challenges. And no matter, you could surround yourself with the greatest people, but if stuff doesn't fall your way, okay, if you don't work hard for it and make those things fall your way and have a little bit of luck, it's even tougher. Mike,
well, Scott, on that note, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I use the word luck. Maybe it's just a figure of speech, but I also happen to believe that you do make your own luck. There's no two ways about it. Hard work can create luck, or at least get you in the game. Okay, and let's face it, if you're not in the game, all the luck in the world isn't going to help you at all. Okay, you have to be in the game. So I would agree with that.
So Mike, I'm going to give you a little slap shot right now.
Oh, there you go. Now you're speaking my language.
So I find that in my business, I fill roles, especially during the pandemic, I'm filling roles that really aren't the best use of my time, but it's where I need to be at a certain time to keep the business healthy and moving forward. Do you feel that you were, that you have you managed to stay in your lane with what you do really good? Or is this distracting you? Is this pandemic gobbling a lot of your time as well in other areas?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, obviously, if you're spending time in one area, you could be, not spending the time in other crucial areas. And I think that's, a good testament to Sean as he was speaking about how well-rounded he is in the business. To him, he was saying it more of a regret. To me, I think it's more of a positive because, in a partnership, you need that. You need somebody that, has the foresight and, can understand all four corners of the business, perhaps maybe more than a certain part of the business that you're focused in. So, to answer your question, it is challenging. My partnership with Sean is really, it's a great one in that, I do focus, as you kind of prefaced earlier, more on the sales and marketing side and the growth of the company side, in terms of, perhaps maybe directions that we're going in. It can be challenging, Scott, but at the end of the day, we know our roles. You have to, what we do with all our employees at the same time is, you play to strength. You play the strengths with even your employees, no less yourself. So, we're a roll up your sleeve hands-on company. It's not uncommon for myself to be out in the field, on calls or perhaps behind a desk or out in the the bullpen with our operations group or our sales group or our service group. So you wear a lot of hats when you're a mid-sized business like Central Business Systems. But I tell you what, it's a pleasure because I've worked in a lot of different environments prior to Central. I worked in corporate conglomerate environments, and where the left side of the building doesn't really know what the right side of the building's doing. We have a pretty cool thing going here. We have a really good sized company where we apologize to no one for our size. We're noted as a premier copier vendor and technology vendor on Long Island, but we're certainly not going to be confused with some sort of conglomerate that is losing that personal touch throughout its company. And certainly both Sean and myself, we certainly have not lost touch with our company and our people and all the areas and important areas of our company.
Yeah, well, we saw that, when we, you guys were the recipient, of the HIA Business Achievement Award. And, we got to go into your business. We got to meet some of the people. We saw the video and stuff like that. And, you could see it in the place. There was young people, there were, older people, there were people that have been in the company 30 years. I mean, it's unheard of, these days to have somebody in a company for 30 plus years,
yeah.
And that, the business has, bought, helped them buy a home and start a family, put kids through college and stuff like that. These are, things that are so overlooked, but that's really what makes Long Island business, so special. So I want to touch a little bit on the HIA a little bit also. So, do you believe, tell us a little bit about, and be brutally honest, are you capitalizing on the girth of the HIA-LI, the 55,000 employees, God knows how many businesses, and you're taking full advantage of that opportunity?
There is so much that the HIA offers that it's almost impossible to leverage every single resource that they have and bring your way. And I mean that, in a very positive way. I mean, the way they get information out to businesses and support local businesses, the opportunities and the forums that they provide you with to connect with other companies and connect with other people is just, it's phenomenal. So it's an honor to be associated with the HIA. But to answer your question, no, I mean, it feels virtually impossible to leverage every single opportunity that they provide. So, it is something that we continue to strategize each year, not always on an annual basis, but, to get involved more and more. We intend to get more involved in 2021. We realize that there are other areas of opportunity to capitalize on, but we're very, very excited to be affiliated with the HIA, and those just aren't just words of convenience. As I mentioned, there's so much that the HIA offers, so we'd be hard pressed to be able to leverage every single thing, but God knows we're looking to step up for sure, even more so.
An amazing story that that you guys were actually involved in also. One of the HIA members has a medical facility that does online prescriptions, and he pivoted immediately during the pandemic. He pivoted into testing, but he didn't just he utilized the HIA base very, very well. But the irony is, like, he delivered a service when lines are around the block at City Meds. This guy was like, "Here, come right here. You'll drive through." We've all taken advantage of this service. So, that was an example of a pivot, for a company. I mean, he's still going to go back to his core things. He's bringing in the vaccines as well that he'll be able to distribute. But so talk about your pivot. So your pivot into, okay, in February, you're delivering office equipment and you're managing IT and stuff like that. And then boom, how did you pivot? What was the, the 5 things that you did to pivot and succeed over the last 10 months?
Sean, you want to take that? Or you...
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll start out with that. So yeah, it's a great point, Scott. One of the things that we did to pivot right away was more of an internal thing, but in I don't want to call it downtime because like Mike said, we were considered essential. So we were still out there, doing service calls, and we had our guys out in the field. But internally, what we did is we pivoted to training. We decided to really try to get caught up in training with our technicians and some of our latest product lines. And again, take that time to, rather than sit back and say, wow, what just happened? And, kind of lick our wounds, I guess, and feel sorry for ourselves. We said, hey, let's just take advantage of the opportunity we have right now. And we're going to act like we're just going forward, and we're going to start to work on right now what it is we want to be when everything comes back to normal again. And we want to be better than we were. So that was one thing, definitely training. But like I said, we were an essential. So we were out there and trying to help a lot of other companies pivot too. So there was that as well.
Are you suffering at all? In my business, my equipment is brought in from several places: Korea, Singapore, Vietnam. Are you guys struggling right now with product delivery? Is that impeding you at all, or are you have a great supply chain that's not being hindered by the pandemic at all?
You know what, Scott, we are to some degree. It's probably a little bit more sporadic. It's like I said, it's spotty. Some stuff we're able to get without a problem right now. And then other stuff, especially in the supply area, sometimes that stuff's back ordered and whatnot. But what we've done is we've tried to stay way in front of it and kind of over inventory a little bit, and we've done pretty well with it. But there have been some situations like everybody else where we have some challenges for sure. But we've like I said, we have a great team behind us, and they're on top of it. They're on top of it every day. We're just trying to make sure we have everything ready for our customers, whether it comes to supplies or parts or, equipment, and we're doing the best we can. So I think, and again, not to pat us on the back too much, but, we've done a good job managing it. And that's a big part of it, because if you try to treat it like it's just business as usual with your inventory, you're going to run into problems. So, you can't do that. We've tried to stay ahead of it, and to some degree it's helped a lot. Nothing's perfect, but yeah, we've done a pretty good job with it.
So now this one's for both of you guys, because Mike, I know that your warm spot is on the sales side, your sales and admin. Sean, your admin and sales. But so my office right now, I'm standing and I have two beautiful Macintosh screens here. Okay, I have an office full of equipment all over the place. What does 5 years and 10 years look like? Open your crystal ball and tell me what we're going to see, from a technology and from an IT standpoint, because I got to believe, like, you guys are, in your 5-year plan and stuff like that, you're already looking at, well, we got to tack this way, we got to be there before we need to be there, So tell me what it's going to look like.
10 years is a long way out, Scott.
That's a long way.
Particularly in the technology, as we know, it changes every day. But I think what we're seeing more and more now is the evolution of the smart office. You've seen the smart home. You've seen Alexa in your home. You've seen the artificial intelligence at home. You're going to see that more and more within office technology, particularly with remote office technology, if you will. But small things that just some small foreshadowing, but touchless, Alexa, working with your Sharp copier machines. You'll have Alexa-like technology, if you will, in the meeting place, artificial intelligence, where you come to a meeting and a device actually takes attendance with the meeting by scanning the meeting place. It takes notes for you. Those are just small examples of artificial intelligence that's coming, and some of it is actually here now. But artificial intelligence is really a big thing that we'll see more and more. And of course, with 5G and the stretches in bandwidth and big data, that's all here or right around the corner, where that's going to change the game and change the dynamic dramatically.
So Jim, I got a question from Jim. It's a long question, but so as without being political or anything like that, I watched The Social Dilemma, okay, and it was really eye-opening because I believe those guys had cred, and it showed like in our personal lives through social media how we're guided, we're shown content that they want us to see. The minute you search something, it comes up on your phone and stuff like that. Is that something in the business environment that we need to be more concerned with from a security standpoint? It's one thing when you post something on Facebook, but if you say AI is coming into the workplace, okay,
Right.
that means it's listening to conversations to me. That means, explain that.
Yeah, so Scott, it's actually a great question that Jim had though there. Yeah, it does open up for a security issue for sure. But again, it has to do with how it's managed. I believe that artificial intelligence in the office place is going to be coming here, whether we like it or not. With the hybrid office coming, where we have more people working remotely, yet still many people in the office. Keeping track of everything is where this AI is going to come in. But I understand the question, and just like everything else, there's always risk with it. Okay, but I personally believe that the technology and the upside of that technology is so important that it's not something that you can run and hide from. Yeah, there's going to be some there's going to be some security concerns with things like that. AWS and Alexa listening in. Yeah, sure. Recently you've probably heard in the news that there's been some issues surrounding AWS, pulling certain websites and things like that. So, and I'll put the question out there to everybody. So what do? Do we run and hide from AWS, pull everything out of the cloud because we're concerned that somebody may, if they don't like what we say on social media, pull us, or do we just trust the system? Okay, it's a question for everybody. Okay, but my personal opinion is that technology has been and always will be here to stay. I mean, I don't know that you can stop it. I don't know that we want to stop it. Okay, it can be a good thing, and I think it will be a good thing. We just have to trust the system.
Yeah, I mean, listen, look at the technology. I grew up with the Dewey Decimal System. I went to the library, so like Tobias and Ralph. I grew up in that era, and when I look at what we have today, it's almost scary what tomorrow's going to bring. For me, I still Control Alt Delete. I still remember those days and stuff like that. But so in your industry, one of the interesting things that Michelle just asked me. So let's talk about the gender gap in the industry. All right, are you attracting? First of all, like we talked about the industry being sexy and stuff like that. Is your industry, I'm certainly from a technical standpoint, you're attracting a lot of new kids that are out of school and things like that. But you have some older people. What about the woman, the woman to manager? Is your industry all male dominated, or is it plenty of women in it also?
Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, yeah, no, what I was going to say is in Central directly, we don't even notice it. It's not something that even exists to us. Male, female, it's irrelevant. If we had anybody come to us, whether it be a technician, sales rep, we just don't see it. I would say in our industry, it's the same. The technology field is filled with all kinds. And, like you say, especially with the younger generations, it's a wide open field. I personally don't believe in our business, at least, that there anybody notices anything any different. So I would say no, not at all. There's no gender gap, whatsoever.
Yeah, Mike, you feel the same way?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I echo everything that Sean just said. Not one bit, and I certainly don't see it as an industry thing either.
No.
Yeah. Listen, that's good. I mean, it's almost scary. I watched a movie, like it was a Jack Ryan movie the other night, and it was this dark web, and these dudes that like exist in this dark web. you know, and are those people really out there? You know, they're really those people that are doing stuff. I mean, maybe we don't have to worry about it in our small businesses and stuff, but are there really people out there doing that, or just in the movies?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a dark web for sure. You know, and it's like anything else. It's something that needs to be avoided at all costs. You know, if you want to get involved in stuff like that, it's there. There's no reason to do that. And again, like I said before, it's also no reason not to trust the technology. You know, Central has ways of securing your business, and as it relates to the dark web, that's one of those services that we can provide for you. So, listen, you can't steer away from technology. There's always something out there that can scare you, but you know, we have the tools, so we're not afraid of it.
So, Mike, the question from Lori, because Sean has so much in his background right now, but you have an incredible library there. So Lori wants to know, you got some books on the shelf. Is there a book that behind you that had a positive impact on you?
Yeah, you know, I'm a big believer in self-development. You know, I've been doing it my whole life. Big Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy. And when it comes to sales, motivation, inspiration, personal growth, personal development, you know, I'm a sponge, and I continue to do. In fact, we even asked that question in an interview. It's not uncommon for us to ask an interview question, particularly in sales or in some other positions, to ask a candidate, please tell us some of the names of the books in your self-development library. And you know, if we hear crickets, you know, certainly we take a little pause, because particularly in sales and other, you know, really all occupations, all different types of positions, you know, self-development is very, very important. But in terms of favorite books, you know, I have so many. One in particular that's actually up on my shelf that has been a bit of a Bible for me, if you will, has been How to Win Customers and Keep Them for Life. Tremendous fundamentals in the book. I'd recommend it to anybody. You know, there's updated versions of the book. Certainly not outdated. The principles still are still at the very core of the foundation of, you know, how to approach customers. Certainly part of the mantra that we have in you know, our success is, as I had mentioned earlier, that the difference between making a sale and making a customer. And you know, one of the nice things about the book, I will say, is you know, there's one premise in mind that says nice customers can kill your business. And you know, it's kind of intriguing. You say, well, how does a nice customer, you know, kill your business? And what they mean is, you know, the nice customer that doesn't complain, nice customer that perhaps had a bad experience or not the experience you'd like them to have, but they just go away. They don't complain. They're nice customers. They just go away. And you know, what we took from the book and what we apply that principle within Central Business Systems is we are constantly talking with our customers, constantly asking our customers, how are we doing? Constantly asking that question, how are we doing? And then constantly asking, how can we serve you better?
Right.
And you know, I give the book a lot of credit, and I adopted that book, and I adopted a lot of the principles here at Central. And you know, quite frankly, it really helped us even in our pivot today, because when you ask customers, how can we serve you better? Well, guess what? They're asking us, Mike, you know, you're servicing us so well with copiers, and you know, can you help us with our computers? Can you help us with our network? So that would be one for sure.
So two things I want to bring up. We talked a little bit about the HIA. While everybody's on, you know, I'd like to think, you know, I know that you guys went up for the BAA awards a couple of times, and it definitely served well. You know, the 2021 BAA awards are coming up, and you know, people can nominate it. I'd like you to share a little bit about the difference that made for you. I know that the day that you found out, okay, and because it happened to me, okay, in my company, when you find out, you're just like, man, you're floating in there. You're like this, like, yes, we did it. So talk just briefly about that, and then Anthony's going to put the hook around my neck.
Yeah, I can share some on that. Yeah, we had gone for the award a couple of times, and I would encourage everybody out there who's an HIA member to go for this award, because it truly is. It's been great for us, and don't be intimidated by it, and also understand it may not happen the first time. We went several times before we got picked, and and listen, there's a lot of great companies out there, so there's a lot of competition, and just to be mentioned in name with a lot of those companies is an accolade itself. So don't be afraid, get out there, jump into it. It's been a fantastic experience for us, so we encourage it.
Well, you guys listen, in closing, then I'll flip it to Anthony. You guys are staying, you guys are the winners, you're doing it, okay? You're succeeding, you're delivering value, you're staying close to your core values of the company and riding that to success. And that's the winning combination. That, as Mike says, they're not customers, they're family, and when you treat people that way, you have them for life, you get those raving fans. So, kudos to you guys for taking what is not a super, like we said, super sexy, but man, delivering value day in and day out. And what the sexiest part about it is that try living without it. Try doing business. Okay. It's like going home during a blackout. Nobody really pays attention to the electricity until they don't have it. Okay. Then all of a sudden you can't live without it. So thank you so much, Anthony.
Thank you, Scott. So I want to thank Sean, Michael, great job. Scott, great job moderating. These things are wonderful. You learn so much. Well, and I will echo, we will be sending out the application for the Business Achievement Awards. Please apply. The process itself is wonderful. I also want to thank our board of directors, Scott being one of them, for all their support. Always all their support, and especially through what we've gone through with COVID. They've really stepped up and really supported our organization so we could support you. So I want to thank all the board of directors. And just one last thing, we have some upcoming events. There we go. February 10th, we have our tradable sectors program. I would urge you to sign up for that. Tradable sectors, if you don't know, are companies that bring revenue into Long Island. And the park itself, 58% of it is tradable sector revenue. These are very important companies that I would urge you all to register. February 26th, we have our Trivia Friday. And then we have our Economic Summit coming up on March 18th. So those are some upcoming events. So I want to thank everyone in attendance today. This was a wonderful program, and we look forward to seeing you again at our next program. So thank you, Sean, Michael, and Scott. Great job.
Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank you.
All right.